the dignitaries off stage, and ladies and gentlemen. It gives me immense pleasure to see everybody physically present here. And I know it's a post-lunch session, it's going to be difficult to stay awake. We'll try to keep you awake. Let's see. Now it's a privilege for me to invite the panelists, Mr. Sohail Kazani from Infinity Harbor Services, Mr. Mr. Vipul Srivastava from JSW, and Mr. Sajindra Nambiar from CTech Integrated Technologies Limited. Maritime sector plays a vital role in overall development of a country. Towards achieving this, immense potential of our coastline and rivers need to be harnessed. This requires that the entire ecosystem and the growth and the contribution of the stakeholders, including the designers, shipyards, machinery, equipment manufacturers, owners and administration, is immensely required. Presently, a lot of activity is happening in the maritime field, and in this background, the topic of this panel discussion, Propelling Coastal and Inland Waterway segment, is very, very apt. Over the past decade, Government of India has promulgated many rules and regulations, as we all know, for ensuring seamless connectivity in the coastal waters and between the rivers and the coastal waters. First such notification which has come was, I think, in 2007-2008, called River Sea Vessel Notification, which allows vessels to sail up to 12 nautical miles, and in that one category permits you to operate vessels all round the year. Further, to strengthen this cargo movement on the coastal waters, Government of India had come up with a subsequent notification on Indian coastal vessels, thereby the vessels can operate up to 20 nautical miles. Permitting the vessels to operate in fair weather within 5 nautical miles, IV vessels, is a game changer in this field within the inshore corridors. IV Act we were talking about. IV Act 2021, which is passed by the Parliament, will actually ensure seamless transportation between the various states in the rivers in the country, and also permits a framework to have a common rules. At the moment, every state has its own rules. Now with this IV Act, they are creating a framework to have common rules which will be followed across the country. And this act for a change has been done and formulated upon extensive stakeholder interactions. Potential in the passenger segment, both for transportation and tourism, needs to be tapped. KMRL, that is Kochi Metro Limited in Kochi, is one such example in urban transportation. Some shop talk. We at IRS have been assisting all our stakeholders in respect of coastal and inland water segments, both in classification and providing beyond class services. IRS has been requested by various state governments, including Assam and Tripura, to provide certification of local passenger boats. We are also working on green initiative, which is the most topical thing nowadays we hear anywhere we go, such as biofuel, LNG, solar, battery operated vessels, both in the new construction segment as well as in the retrofits. We are also, I'm happy to inform you that we are also working on a joint industry project on hydrogen fuel cells for propelling small ro-ro ferries. Times look interesting and challenging ahead, and by 2030, till 2030, we are going to have innovation as the buzzword. To discuss this issues, pertaining to coastal and inland waters, both from the shipbuilding point of view, ship designing point of view. I am joined by my panel, and we hope to entertain you and bring some value in the next 1 hour during our interactions. Now I request Mr. Sohail Kazani to give his brief introduction and say a few words so that we can start after that. Yeah, coming back to your this thing of green energy. As you correctly said, the guidelines for methanol propelled ships are already available. Okay, and coming to ammonia, some framework, regulatory framework is already being deliberated at IMO for using hydrogen extracted from ammonia. As I was mentioning, we are already working on a joint industry project on hydrogen fueled the small vessels, 100 passenger vessels, and with Cochin shipyard. Probably you would have read recently in the papers that we are already working on it. And these are already in the advanced stages of construction and project completion stages. And coming to the Cochin Metro boats, these boats are battery propelled as well as, they have a diesel in case just when you have to require for it. Coming back, you were talking to me the other day about retrofitting of these small vessels, water taxis and all which operate here. So would you like to talk about it? There are already some ships operating on biofuel in Indian coast. There are some ships which are being retrofitted with LNG, and the fishing vessels we are all working on, using LPG. This again has come from the ministry. We are working on this. And we are retrofitting some of the smaller vessels into, with batteries and for local transportation, as he mentioned, few hours. Yeah. Before we get into it, it's just about 7 minutes to 3. So if any questions from the audience, I think the panel would be willing to take it. Questions? So thank you, panel. Just to sum up, we see a lot of potential in the inland as well as in the coastal water segment because of the fleet expansions, retrofits of the older vessels. Maybe they give some additional life and impetus to the cargo movement locally. Then a lot of ship designing options are coming up, and these new technologies are throwing up. Informatively, while we are on this topic of shipbuilding and bringing it to a threshold, the Government of India under the Ministry of Shipping, what they have done is they have published some 5 standard tug designs which are available on the IPA website, and it is open for everybody. It has been done by Cochin Shipyard, SCI and IRS together. Okay, and they have given it to the shipping, to the IPA, and it is available on the IPA website. Similarly, there's a lot of impetus being put on fishing and mechanizing the fishing boats, and there are about 4 standard designs have been already approved and are already on this SIFT website, deep sea fishing vessels, and they are being used by various small scale shipyards and boat builders that they are already starting to use, and we are seeing a potential in this market as well. I mean, this gives an opportunity for the engine manufacturers, the ancillary industries and small scale shipyards. The constraints that have been expressed, probably somebody from the organizers, we are taking note of this, and as was discussed in the morning session, this will be collated together and taken up with the ministry for any further action that would be required. Thank you. You have been a great audience. Thank you. In spite of being post-lunch session, people have been lively. Thank you. Thank you.
Nambiar and to Mr. Vipul Srivastava. Also, I request Mr. Sajendra Nambiar to please hand over the bouquet of flowers to Mr. H. V. Ramesh.